I wanted to spend the day kind of going over some variations of the hip cam position that we've been working on. So, because at the passing camp, Joseph brought in a couple of really cool details that makes the whole position a lot less enjoyable. First of all, just kind of review of the camping position. So we've been doing it like this. We've been doing it like this, where I work on my knee-elbow connection. I try to get my knee kind of here in his pate. And I want to kind of pressure in with my head. And I'm always trying to push his knees that way away from me. So something I noticed Joseph was doing in this position, so he has the same hand configuration and same head position, but rather than coming here, he's actually almost here resting on the hamstring. So like this. Yeah. So, and I asked him about it. He was mainly pointing out this makes it actually, it's harder for him to pull this knee in now. No, I mean if you try to get your foot in.
Oh, no way, yeah.
Yeah, because now I can block that foot really well.
Yeah, I can get this one in either.
Yeah. Okay. So that's just the first little point about the general position I kind of wanted to start working in. So instead of putting your knee kind of here between his legs, try to get it here on the hamstring and kind of pressure in with your hamstring. And there are also Joseph. He's actually not trying to be here. He has also said this on his Patreon. No, actually, if you're really flexible, there's a chance for you to pummel that end. So if I have my leg too far this way, but if I've got it here, not only that, I can also use that to pressure the knees away from me. So, and I mean, not realistic, but I can actually just keep his feet away from me just with my leg. Okay? So first little detail, that's not the worst part. There are other things we were doing that's going to make this whole position a lot less comfortable, but I want to start small. Okay, so from first, we're just going to let's kind of work on some entries as well while we're at it. So another thing in terms of the entry, just assuming your opponent has supine. Yeah, so he takes different grips as well. So rather than having a grip like this, where we try to do this, he actually makes the point to have both fingers pointing in the same direction, which makes it really easy for me to now put weight into those legs. And also, if I have this is actually easier for him to pummel out. Yeah, because it's only my thumb catching the foot. So it's actually kind of easy to run. Whereas if I have this, yeah, exactly. So that makes it easier for me to keep grips on his feet. So let's kind of build that all together. So starting here, take the fingers in the same direction, pressure in, move to the side, get that weight of the knee on the handspring, and then enter into the hip cam. Okay? And something really important, this is something I do, I've seen a lot of other people do it. I don't like to have my hand here, because I'm not trying to push this leg down. I'm trying to push the leg away. So I don't take this grip, I take the grip on the side of the knee, and I'm always pushing to the, yeah. Okay? So this is also going to help me keep that knee, keep him from being able to point his knees towards me.
Do you have more pressure on the hip or on the chest?
Kind of 50-50 between my elbow and my head. So the main thing is I need to make sure with the elbow that I'm always flaring out. Because again, if I collapse this in here, now it's where he can hinder. And that all becomes a lot easier if I have my elbow collapsed in like this. Whereas if I have the elbow out,
Right up for me.
yeah. I mean, it can be done, but it's a lot harder now. Okay? So let's just add that a bit in. So 3 of you work together, I'll watch, and then we'll... So, the Jonas defense, if anybody gets content. So, that's a couple of you probably have noticed. Jonas, if you're in here, something he'll often do and it helps him break this position is he'll shove the head away. This already. You're showing it like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. If he shoves it the other way, that actually helps me pass. So just if you shove your head in the direction of the elbow, then you just move the other leg out of the way, and he helps you pass with that. If he shoves you down and towards my feet, okay, what we're going to do is we're actually going to reposture and we're going to hit him.
Oh yeah.
And now I can use that to get my passing. Okay, and you can use this kind of hip in anytime he starts to be able to get his knees back towards me. Like if we're just like here and he starts to hip in. Yeah.
That's what you did.
Yeah. That's why I said we're about to do that. Yeah. So that helps you. And again, I don't even need the pass. I can just kind of rest here. I mean, not rest, but I can use my hips again here to exert pressure. He'll try to get out of position. Then he offers exposes me to back. Or if he tries, if we're here and he tries to return guard, then just go back to where it was. Yeah. Okay? So, clear what I want. So now we're allowing now especially try to shove the head out of the way, or try to bring your legs in, and use your hip movement, hipping in, to basically force his legs in the other direction and maintain your position. Okay? So, now let's go to something else that just makes this an absolutely terrible position to be in. Okay, so we've had like the basic position, we've had hipping in, and my main danger, I don't want to say main danger, his main method of defense or regarding exactly is the high leg. He in order to be able to really reclaim his guard, he wants to bring his knees to his chest, high leg in, and start reclaiming his guard. Okay? So that's my number one concern. And my number one concern is going to be trying to keep his knees away from his chest and to keep his feet away from my head, basically. Okay? So we've had a couple of ways to do that. So that we've gone over a couple of ways to do that. We have here, I can use my elbow to frame that away. If he starts to push me to the side, I can hit him and keep his feet from coming into me. Then he can come up. Another way I can do this is I can pull on his head. I'm sorry, Jan, this is not going to be pleasant. So I can basically come up here, and now if he tries to high leg in, I have 1, 2.5 legs, and now I can this way.
I love that.
So I can do a collar tie or reverse collar tie. Very often, him resisting the collar tie is going to give me the reverse collar tie. So, and that paradoxically, that crunches him up into a ball, but because I'm lifting, he basically kind of just kind of pulling his head and back off the ground, and because that's off the ground, okay, his feet can come here like this, keep that where it is, I'm just going to let go. His foot gets this much further just by letting his head get to the ground. Okay? So he has that much more range of motion, and that's what I'm robbing from him. And that's kind of that critical motion he needs, critical range of motion he needs to get to one of my shoulders, to get in front of my face for that high leg. So if I can just pull on his leg, I force his feet down, and it makes it really hard. Again, not impossible, especially if you have someone just incredibly flexible, they might be able to pull something off. But it's going to be really hard for him to highlight, especially if I'm also using my elbow, I'm using my head, I'm able to hip in. So pulling on his head is an additional kind of weapon you can put into this to make, first of all, the position just less comfortable. when you're getting squashed up together like that, that's just not a pleasant position to be in. It's also a little bit harder to breathe. I mean, you're not going to suffocate, but you're like, it's a bit hard to breathe when you're like this. There's a reason you want to breathe like this and not like this. And that makes the whole position less comfortable, gives him less options, and lets me maintain my advantage over time. Okay? So now let's build that up, and then I want to kind of do a bit of a game, kind of combining everything together. Okay? So little thing, just kind of tie everything together before we start going into some specific rounds. Okay, so another thing that can happen, and this happened a couple of times, is like if he starts to frame and maybe when he frames and bench presses me up, that he maybe like pulls in this arm or something, and go ahead, and removes this frame, and now this is going to make it easier for him to highlight in, actually. Yeah, like that, yeah. Okay, so let's say he gets here, and I need to figure out what I can do. This is where I can literally use my head. I can pummel my head in, and I can put my head basically on his knee. Yeah, and I can kind of follow with my knee, with my head on his knee, and if he tries to repummel, and then I can get my pass. Okay, so just one more thing, because I saw this happening in the last couple of rounds. Someone would like maybe grab the hip arm and everything, and if the hip arm is lost, pummel your head in again, and that actually works fairly late stage. Even if he gets a really extreme highlight, if he's able to highlight all the way over to my other shoulder, I can still hip in, or head in, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So basically, I can pummel my head back in and start using my head. Basically, I try to keep my head about at the knee, and as long as I can, I don't even need to exert a lot of pressure. It's just if I keep that contact, as long as I just keep this contact, he's not going to be able to get his leg in to my shoulders. Okay? So just that one little detail, let's work on that, and then let's do some things to kind of try and tie everything together. Okay? Okay, so now I want to kind of work on some specific exercises with this. What I want to do is we're going to kind of do a bit of a positional sparring round, but just kind of a bit of a general sort of vibe that kind of I came away with after the camp. It's kind of passing kind of doesn't exist. It's kind of a weird sort of Zen thing. I swear I'm not doing a Rick Souders thing where he's like nothing exists and it's just situational, blah, blah, blah. No, but the thing is like, we generally tend to think of passing as trying to get past the legs and the hip and pin as quickly as possible. And that's actually every single way. The whole point to the camp from Joseph and Jason was that you don't want to do that, okay? Because that gives a lot of opportunities for scrambles and for him to try and reverse the position. You become unstable and you expend a lot of energy if you just try to extremely fast pass everything. You might get a pass, but you might cook yourself in the first half of the match, and then your opponent will still win because he has all his energy at the end of the match, which is the deciding point, okay? Instead, kind of after the camp, I kind of think of passing more like just progressing through pins. So just kind of like if I have you in side control, I'm not going to try and get to mount as quick as possible and then try to rip a Kimura or something. I'm going to slowly build pressure, improve my position, see if I can find a submission. If I can't, transition to a better position. So maybe go to the mount, go to the back. Once I'm there, again, I'm not going to try and jump around and spastically try to grab arm bars and do something. I'm going to slowly separate arms, isolate, get the arms up, move up in the mount, see if I can get an arm bar. If I can't get an arm bar, see if I can get to the back. I'm going to be very slow and kind of grindy with everything. And it's kind of the idea is that you want to exert so much pressure and make the pin as uncomfortable as possible that your opponent says, oh God, would you just submit me already? I want this to end. So to kind of make the whole point of the pin to be sort of a war of attrition, so that you just keep chipping away till he is just completely cooked. And you want to approach your passing in kind of the same way. Okay, so like we kind of did this is kind of like half guard. So like when the half guard, so the fuck your half guard thing we do at the beginning. That's kind of the way I want to try and pass half guard. I don't want to do this because he's going to be able to exert a lot of control on me with that half guard plank, okay? So instead, I want to do hand fight, exert pressure. Yeah, exactly. I want him to be going, oh God, would you please just pass me already? I haven't even passed him yet, but look how I'm just upgrading my position slowly. I haven't even passed yet. I might transition over here. I might try to go north-south. I might go here. Okay, now I'm back. Now the butterfly half. So now I can come up here, do some of the stuff with Joseph. And I'm just slowly upgrading my position and making him constantly exert power and energy to prevent my pass until I finally get where I want to be. Okay? And that's why I'm also saying when we're doing these base training rounds, you don't want to be doing, like if we're in butterfly guard, when you're trying to do base, you don't want to be constantly doing this. Because, okay, it's hard for him to sweep me like that. But I'm not exerting any pressure. He can stay here all day. This isn't going to tire him out. This is what I want. I want to be here. Yeah, I want this to be unpleasant for him. I want him to hate being in guard. Okay, I want that kind of position. Okay? So you want when you have a tough position, even if you're not in a pin, you want to treat it like a pin. You want to exert pressure. You want to make it unpleasant. You want to make him to constantly try to move and try to escape to something better, and you just use that to upgrade your position progressively until you get into your actual pin. And then you upgrade your pins until you get the submission. So it's kind of a paradigm shift, I think, with passing, that we want to approach passing like we approach pinning and going to submission. It's the same idea, it's just instead of getting the submission, we're trying to get the pass. Okay? So now, just a quick little exercise. I want us to start in the hip camp. Go, yeah, you can pick off. So, I want us to start in the hip camp, and I just want him to try and reclaim his guard. And we get to use all the tools we did to maintain the hip camp as long as possible. Okay? So you get to grab the head, hip in, put your head in, so circle around, all sorts of stuff. Don't pass. Because again, I want you to just kind of maintain pressure over time and cook. Spend as much time making this as an unpleasant position for your partner as you possibly can. Okay?
Position before passing.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But instead of position before submission, now position before passing. So treat your passes like you're trying to work through pins. Okay? So everyone gets 2 minutes. So
the person,
try to reclaim guard, try to sweep, try to reverse. Bottom gets to sweep, reverse, and try to reclaim guard. Okay? If bottom position is able to reverse, to sweep, or submit, or to reclaim guard, bottom position wins. Okay. If I'm able to hold the position the entire time, I win. Okay. Bottom position is also not allowed to turtle. If the bottom position turtles, that also means he loses.
Okay.
Okay? So mainly because again, I want to work on this position. I don't want everyone to just roll, stand up, and then we do wrestling for the whole 2 minutes.
Of course.
Yeah, okay?